I think you just start to look at money differently when you're looking through the lens of kingdom wealth and impact and bringing God into the conversation.
Hi, I'm Justin Miwanimo, and this is Wisdom is Wealth. Wisdom is Wealth is designed to give you guys practical insights, modern strategies, and even timeless philosophies around gaining wisdom in your life. The wiser we get, the wealthier we will become. This podcast really is inspired by the book of Proverbs in the Bible, which was written by King Solomon, who prayed to God for wisdom and as a byproduct became the wealthiest person to ever live. If he was still alive today in present day, he'd be worth $1.3 trillion with a T. Not because he prayed for wealth, but he prayed to God to give him wisdom. And as he grew wiser, as a byproduct, he grew wealthier, particularly financially, but not just stopping there, in every facet of his life. And in my own life, I have realized that the wealthier I become, it's truthfully just because I have become wiser in life. I'm gonna bring on guests that are incredibly successful, incredibly amazing human beings, and have an amazing financial wealth that they've grown for themselves. And they're gonna share wisdom on their life experience in totality in hopes that something becomes valuable for you to implement in your process, in your life, and in your journey, and see how wisdom truthfully is wealth. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this client interview. I've got one of the best to ever do it in the Good Steward program. Incredible human being. We've, built a good friendship as well with her husband, her just incredible humans, and they were incredible clients. And today's episode is going to be really fun because Darnah has a really good story, a really good perspective, and she's just a doer. She's just an incredible client, but also she's got a really cool accent. So I think that's really going to help the statistics and the engagement. So shameless plug for the accent. Hang out to the end because this is going to be a story that you want to hear. And so, Darnah, thank you for doing this interview. And before we hop in, can you just describe who you are and what you do?
Thanks, Justin. I'm happy to be here. I'm Darnah. I'm a solopreneur based in Austin, Texas. Don't let the accent fool you. I'm not on the other side of the world. I own a publishing and personal branding agency, helping coaches, experts, and creators turn their knowledge into a professionally published book. And I'm also a health coach and wellness podcast host because it's hard to not be multi-passionate.
I love that. And honestly, on the book publishing side of stuff, I've got a really good friend and client, Danielle, who has been working with Darnah in that capacity and has nothing but amazing things to say about that. So if anybody, shameless plug for Darnah, is interested in those services, right, or even the other services she alluded to, Darnah comes highly, highly recommended. And so I think Darnah is a great business owner in many ways and attracts incredible clients because she shows up as one. And from the second we met in Austin, I think it was back in November of 2024, when we were talking beforehand, I knew we were getting ready to, pitch the program that day. And I just remember thinking, I just pray to God this woman joins. She's just our people and you can feel it. And, shameless plug for myself, I was right because you killed it. I'd be curious, can you share a little bit about how your financial stress has turned into financial peace as a result of going through the Good Steward program?
Totally, yeah. Before joining, money always felt really heavy to me. Ever
Mm.
since I was a little girl, it's not something I was ever taught to have a healthy relationship with. I didn't have role models who had a healthy relationship with money. And so I had more debt than savings and no real sense of clarity at all around money, my financial situation, or how to get out of it. Um, and since going through the program, the coolest thing, this might be the best win ever, money doesn't stress me out anymore.
Yeah.
And like at all. I mean, there are moments in especially, tight seasons being a business owner, but I come back to the budget and I look at the numbers and actually know what to do next now because I'm not avoiding. And there's just this deep peace that comes from understanding my finances, showing up for them, um, just from a place of curiosity
Mm.
and planning ahead and trusting God with the bigger picture as well. I think you just start to look at money differently when you're looking through the lens of kingdom wealth and impact and bringing God into the conversation.
That's so good. We can end the interview right there, and it'd be a great interview, and I'd die a happy financial coach. I love that though. And it's so hard to have peace over something you don't feel that you're in control of,
Yes.
educated on, and empowered around. And so I'm
Mhm.
so happy to hear that that was some of the outcomes that you had. And I know when you first came to us, debt was stressing you out a little bit. Could you describe how your mindset around debt has changed since working with us?
Yeah, I used to feel a lot of shame around my debt, like I had totally failed at life. Um, but this this program really helped me understand how I was wired financially and where a lot of my beliefs and spending habits were coming from, which allowed me to shift those and lead with grace instead of guilt and just start looking at things differently. Like, for example, I used to hide from my debt and pay the minimums until I had to face the end of my interest-free period and then stress out about how I was going to pay it. That was like a pattern for me. But now I know how and when I'm going to pay all of my debt. And I've actually got a plan to pay most of it off by the end of this year and all of it off by the middle of next year.
Oh,
So moving forward, I just also understand the difference between leveraging other people's money in a healthy, positive way
yeah.
as a business owner versus racking up bad consumer debt that wasn't in the budget, which
Yeah.
I was really good at.
Yeah, it's such a good perspective. First off, getting a plan around the debt and then getting clarity on what is bad debt that needs to be tackled, and then what is good debt that can be leveraged responsibly, right? And I
Yes.
think that don't get me wrong, there's worse things we can do with our money than avoid debt at all costs. But and the Good Steward program, we don't want to teach you decent or good. We want to teach you what's optimal, like what's the best use
Hmm.
of money and the best perspectives we can carry. And I just love that you've had that perspective shift. I know you've
Hmm.
alluded to a few already, but would you mind sharing a few challenges you faced before working with us? And two-part question. And did you feel the only way to grow past them was to either make a whole bunch of money or cut out the lifestyle that you actually enjoy?
Definitely. Um, I thought my only options were work more, make more, uh, sacrifice things that brought me joy. And the problem was that I kept repeating the same cycles because you can't really change your circumstances unless you change your mindset and your approach, right? So I really learned how to work smarter with the money I already had while building a plan for what's to come. And yes, like I did need to make wiser spending decisions. I did need to refine my budget. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I could just, you know, the program doesn't teach like, oh yeah, you could just keep spending on whatever you want. Um, but it wasn't like I couldn't go to Starbucks or go on vacation until my debt was paid down, which other programs kind of push you in that direction. Like you just can't live until you are out of debt. So it's more like how can you live well and get ahead and work towards financial freedom?
Mm,
And things like wellness is really important to me. Eating good groceries, these things that are really important to me get to stay. Um, and I get to kind of massage my current financial situation around making sure that those things that are really valuable to me and make me a better person on a day-to-day basis get to stay. And then once I had a system, I could really see where every dollar was going, make better decisions, still enjoy my life, um, but have a plan towards, just being wiser and making that look better with time. And it just, yeah, like you said, the word empowered, like I felt so much more empowered.
yeah, that's so good. Yeah, a lot of people do come to us with that challenge of they don't know how to balance, meaning still being able to live their life, but also making financial progress at the same time. They think
Yep.
it's either like make financial progress or live your life, right? Or they think the
Hmm.
only way to really make financial progress is to make a heck of a lot more, which I mean, I guess
Hmm.
more money can help every once in a while, but when you're on the right system, it will truthfully allow you to make financial progress and spend your money or live your life a little bit in the process, right? And so
Hmm.
I appreciate you alluding to that a ton. That is definitely a big win. But would you mind sharing any other like tangible results with us as a result of going through the program? Maybe like debt
Yeah,
paid off, money saved, investments made or growing, like whatever you feel comfortable and authentic with sharing.
sure. Yeah. I am usually okay getting a little vulnerable. I think uh, we all learned that when I was in the program. I'm good at sharing. So when I started the Good Steward program, which was about 8 months ago, like you said, November. Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, I had more debt than cash, and I had a negative net worth, which really weighed on me. Um, and since then, I've paid off about 15,000 of debt.
Wow.
I've built a $25,000 emergency fund, which covers me for about 5 months based on my calculations, and then now have a positive net worth, which is really cool. Um, and on top of that, my husband and I got married in June
Yeah.
with a beautiful, well-budgeted wedding. Um, and it was just nice to like be able to say, yeah, let's get married. We don't have to wait until there's like some number in some account somewhere that says we can get married.
Yeah.
It's more about like the strategy around it and how that adds to our life now. And I'm so glad we did that. And then I celebrated 1 year full time in my business. Actually at the beginning of this month by switching to an S Corp and putting myself on payroll for the first time, which is so exciting. So, yeah, I'm now a W-2 employee for myself. And now we're planning to buy our first home in Q1 next year. So, yeah, a lot can change in less than a year for sure.
It is insane, actually. I was literally just about to say that. I'm like, 8 months? That's like 8 years of
Yeah,
progress in 8 months. And I think
feels
that
like it.
there's a lot of really good stuff in there. But I think the one thing too is the marriage and the wedding. Like I
Yeah,
find whether directly or just maybe by a hunch, right, that people just really avoid that commitment due to the scares of the financial commitment, right? Or due
yes.
to the scares of the financial responsibility of it. And it's like I was just talking
Hmm.
to my buddy the other day. He's been dating his girlfriend for 8 years. I'm like, why haven't you proposed yet? He's like, I'm just scared of like the financial responsibility, like behind the ring, planning the wedding. It's like obviously a lot of subjectivity there, but it's
Yeah,
crazy how many
yeah.
marriages or possible marriages that either money or the fear around money and the limitations around money is holding back, or like when people are
Hmm.
married, the unnecessary stress and anxiety it causes inside of the marriage. And I know as soon as you
Yeah.
guys got married, or no, it was right before you had booked a one-on-one with me and you're like, we want to book this one-on-one so we can have a solid plan going into the marriage.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, it's
Yeah.
just so cool to see that and hear that and, have that reflected back. And I hope that you, I know you're a doer and, so is Vic and you guys, maybe a little bit hard on yourselves every once in a while, but I hope you do take the time to reflect on those wins because literally that what you just said that you accomplished in 8 months is incredible. It's incredible. And I'm so proud of you for doing that.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I think what's really cool too is like, I think you guys figured out finances doesn't have to be quantum physics. It doesn't have to take a lot of time either. And it's
Yeah.
not as scary and as hard as most people think it is. And so would you
Hmm.
be able to just tell the viewers, like, what was your time commitment per week when you were in the program? And then also like, what did we take care of and what did you take care of, like responsibility wise?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it was manageable, and I'm slammed.
Yeah.
So it was manageable. I mean, your team handled the structure, the tools, the templates, the education. Like I really just had to show up and commit, but I committed to managing my budget 15 minutes every morning. I allocated in my schedule every morning. Like that's how I would start the day with my coffee. Um, I showed up for the weekly calls, which is about 1 to 2 hours a week, and then my monthly coaching calls. So that's like I guess, the foundational amount of time that you need to spend to really show up and learn. But I also found value in participating in the community. So like sharing wins and supporting others in the community. I think that that was just a beautiful place to be, and there's a lot of growth there, and it's a gorgeous family. And then to get the full results, it's important to schedule time for strategy and implementation.
Yeah.
Um, so I started to create space for money dates for myself every month where I would be really intentional about getting a cup of tea and lighting candles and like making it feel really nice for myself, putting on a little bit of worship music in the background or something nice. And like I would use that time to look at the big picture and set goals and plan financial milestones, look at my credit card debt and just truly understanding and applying what I was learning. And I think like if you really want to get all of the full results out of this, like a lot of it is there. The tools are there, but it is up to you to show up and use them and implement them and learn them.
Yeah, yeah, it's so good. For one, we were just talking, I think like maybe a month or so after your time ended, we were like, we're going to miss her in circle and in the community. We're going to have to figure out who our new Darnah/leader is. It's always so
Oh,
helpful. I'm so grateful that you always took advantage of sharing in that and, just basically, whether it was intentional or not, just establishing yourself as a leader in the community. So I just want to thank you for that. And then, also just kind of echo something back that you said where I always say, we're not perfect. Obviously, we're growing, and
yeah.
we have our hitches, and like any company does. But we have a lot of data to prove that
Mm,
if you just show up and play your part, you get great results. Or the program is your mirror; you get out of it what you put into it, right? And so
hmm
I just think that like your results and the testimony is a direct reflection to how you showed up and the effort that you gave, and so
mm,
like, it's something to be really proud of. And I think a lot
thanks.
of people, like, again, are surprised too when they work with us that, like, we really just show them that finances really aren't that scary. It's not that hard. And that was a big goal of mine years ago when I started this company, because that was a big revelation I had on my own journey, about a decade ago. I'm like, wait, finances really aren't that scary. So
Yeah.
people do get surprised about that. But I'd be curious, was there anything else that surprised you about our services or maybe just JFF in totality?
Yes. For sure. I was surprised by how spiritual it felt,
Mm,
and um, and not because like that was the focus the whole time, but like I was just expecting spreadsheets and strategy and just the numbers. And y'all delivered that for sure, but what really changed me was the shift in my spirit and mindset. And I feel closer to God through this process of stewardship.
mm,
I feel like it's not just about managing money, it's about preparing to multiply it for kingdom impact. And that inner shift that I got through this program has made a huge difference in my life, my marriage, and my business. I mean, just my marriage alone. First up, I'm married, yay. But so like having the bravery to move forward with getting married to begin with, but like our relationship and the way I learned to communicate with my husband, then fiance, now husband. I learned to communicate with him about money through the skills that I learned in this program. And like, I just remember early on, like, that was a really tough conversation for me, especially with someone who doesn't have debt and, kind of um,
mm,
has their financial stuff together.
yeah.
And I just always felt a little intimidated by having the conversation about money with him. And it was challenging because we're different in that way. But like the support that I received through you and the coaches just really helped me in that area. And so, yeah, I thank you because now money is like a welcome conversation in our marriage. And it's something that we are now excited to talk about together and work on together and have dates around. And that's really beautiful. So thank you for that.
That's so good. That's so good. I appreciate that a ton, and I'm just proud of you, and I'm grateful to hear that it just brought you closer to God. You know, like before all of my lessons, all of my events, particularly the one where we met you at, my prayer before that is, God, like, I just want to make disciples today. Right? Help me make
Mm,
disciples. And
yeah.
I'm so grateful to hear that being the outcome. And speaking of, like, we met you at the event. The majority of people that have done these interviews, it took them a while to commit to us, like 3 months, 2 years, a year, 6 months.
Mhm.
You were literally like the
Mhm.
first person to get up at the event and go sign up. So a little bit of a different perspective here where you moved fast, you knew what you needed, you took action, and I respect that. Right. And so if
Yeah.
someone that's listening to this is on the fence about working with us, what would you tell them?
I mean, it may have looked like a fast decision, but it was a really deep decision.
Mm.
Um, because internally it didn't feel fast. I I'd say I'd say to that person who's on the fence, who's thinking about it, pray on it. Um,
Mm.
and even though I, really made my decision over the span of like a couple of days, I prayed on it. I took it to God. And I knew that I was in that room because I had been praying for an answer to my financial problems. And like here I was in this room with all of these incredible people. And I'm like, okay, I would be crazy to not be recognizing the signs that God's putting in front of me here. But I would just ask yourself, if you can continue this way, like where you are now, can you continue this way? Do you want to continue this way? Or if you're ready for things to change, like to truly change, and then ask God if this is the path for you. And
Mm.
I do believe that the answer will become obvious. You'll kind of feel it. And sometimes making an investment when you're trying to be better with money feels completely counterintuitive. And I know because I felt that. I'm like, really? Really? You want me to spend more to like get this in order?
Mm.
Um, but I needed to invest in strengthening the area where I was weak,
Yeah.
just like people invest in a personal trainer
Yep.
or learning a new skill. This was me investing in my financial education that I had never received ever, so that I could do things differently going forward and pass this knowledge down to my future children. So this is like an investment in my legacy. And when you're paying for something, you usually show up for it.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice there.
That's so good though. Like, pray, then pay. That's how I
Yeah.
say that. Like, and one of my mentors always says people don't pay attention until they pay. Right. And, if you want to make true change, you have to, yes, bring it to God first and foremost. And I'm happy that you mentioned that because that's so important. And I
Mm,
know if somebody is for us, God will direct them to us. And
hmm.
secondly, like, if you want to make true change, you have to invest your time, your money, and your energy. Right.
Yes.
It's because that's really, I think, how you get that skin in the game to stay committed in a fashion
Mhm.
that's actually going to lead to real transformation. And I'm just so happy that you're walking in that and a beautiful testimony of that. And so, before we wrap up, any final thoughts you'd like to share with the viewers?
I think just that stewardship changed my life.
Hmm.
Um, and like learning the true deep meaning of that word and then applying it. And
Yeah.
then it kind of ripples into every part of your life and it's just beautiful. And I know that it's just the beginning, but God blesses us when we trust Him and when we can show Him that we're responsible for the blessings that He's already given us. Um, and I'm not going to lie, I was nervous when I said yes and I invested, but I prayed on it and I trusted. And then 5 months later, like you said, one of the other women in the program became my client and she invested in my services, which covered the cost of my investment with you. So I just think like my takeaway is that we need to trust God more and realize that it's all His money and He rewards wise investments. And He just wants us to manage it well and He'll make sure that we have what we need.
Amen. Amen. You might have just interviewed for a coaching position with us with that answer, but thank you so much for this interview, the authenticity, the transparency, and just being an incredible, not just client, but human being for people to look up to and feel inspired by. And,
Oh,
clients like you make all the craziness of entrepreneurship worth it. And so I'm just so glad you said yes to the program in the first place and then to this interview. And if anybody listening is ready to say yes, ready to take that leap of faith, right? Remember, it's going to feel a little scary. It's going to take a little bit of an investment, but that's what's needed to get to the other side or to get to the results that you want. Just like Darnah, it's similar to her story. So if you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a link in the chat or the comments where you can book a call with one of our incredible team members to learn more about the Good Steward program and figure out if and how we can help you. If you're listening via podcast, it might be in the show notes. If not, just go to our website, journeytofinancialfreedom.co, not .com. We save like thousands of dollars by dropping the M on that website. So, and you'll be able to click book a consultation there. And, I've said this in other interviews, but the only difference between you and Darnah is that Darnah stepped up, trusted God, trusted herself, took action, and now she's living in the change that comes from that. And so, Darnah, thank you again so much for being here. Just thank you for being you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin. I'm so happy to know you and the coaches and just grateful for the change that you really helped bring into my life. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.